The United Kingdom held a nationwide referendum on whether or not to remain in or leave the European Union. By now, almost everybody in the world has heard that the United Kingdom voted to leave the European Union, but nobody in the world knows exactly what that means. We're not going to get into the politics behind why the vote happened, we're just going to look at the data and see what could happen next. When the smoke cleared up on the morning of the 24th of June, the results came in, the roughly 48% of people in the UK voting to remain in the European Union, while 52% of people voted to leave the European Union. Let's look at this data on a more regional level next. Excluding London for just a moment, the rest of England voted to leave the European Union with a roughly 55% majority. Wales also voted to leave with a narrow 53% majority. The rest of the United Kingdom voted to remain, and this is where things start to get messy. To the north, we examined the data from Scotland. Here we saw a rough 67% voter turnout, and out of that population, an obvious majority of 62% voted to remain in the European Union, while 38% voted to leave. So the Scottish government announced the very next day after the election that government officials would be planning for a, quote, highly likely second referendum on independence from the United Kingdom. We don't know if this second referendum will happen as of now, but if it does, it seems pretty likely this time that Scotland would leave the United Kingdom and seek to regain European Union membership, which would cause an awkward border in Britain itself. Would an independent Scotland use euros? Would there be an awkward border between Scotland and the remaining United Kingdom? How could people travel across? What would the UK flag turn into without Scotland? Would the UK even really exist at this point? We don't really know the answers to these questions, but let's cross over to Ireland to examine what the situation here looks like. Around 56% of people in Northern Ireland voted to remain in the European Union. That's a good majority, but since the rest of the UK voted to leave, they will be leaving as well. But this is awkward too. You can freely travel across the border without needing a passport or stopping at any checkpoint, but that could change now that Northern Ireland will be leaving the European Union. The border here could become a land border between the UK and the EU and could end up becoming a really serious one. Hypothetically, another possibility is that of Northern Ireland holding a referendum to leave the UK altogether like Scotland and reuniting with the rest of Ireland. It's also unclear whether or not this will ever happen, but seeing as how Northern Ireland voted to remain, it will be interesting to see what will happen here. Overall though, we don't really know what future the United Kingdom is heading towards. That's why there is so much chaos in the markets and in British political parties, because nobody really knows what is going to happen next. It could very well be the end of the entire United Kingdom as we know it, where we'll see Scotland breaking away and moving back in with Europe, or Northern Ireland leaving and being reunited with the rest of Ireland. Or none of these things will happen and the United Kingdom will stay together, united and separated from Europe. All we do know is that this will take years to figure things out and that history never really does feel like history while we're living through it.